Hey folks, this is Onion Boy from ORS Direct in Vermont. Right now I'm at our retail store, Onion River Sports, which is in downtown Montpelier, Vermont. There it is, sort of. And I'm in our ski shop, and I'm going to show you how to cut down your own ski poles. You may buy a pair of poles from us that are longer than you need, or you may own a pair of poles and you need to cut them down. Maybe you shrunk, who knows. It's not that difficult. All you need is your own private ski shop. That's a joke. Actually, all you need is some hot water, a rag is a handy item, a hacksaw, a measuring tape, and maybe a vise or something like a table you can cut. It's about all you need. So I'm going to show you how easy it is. The first step is to heat up the glue that holds the grip onto the ski pole. Now we use a crock pot here. If you don't own a crock pot and you don't feel like using your own crock pot, just anything that can contain warm water. So a stock pot on your stove, maybe at low. It doesn't have to be that hot. This is I would say very warm, but I've gotten into hot tubs that are this hot. So if you have a hot tub, that'll work too. Something that holds hot water. Now, poles do vary. You might put your pole in a very, very hot boiling cauldron and the grip won't come off. Some pole manufacturers use epoxy that just will not come off with heat. But most grips do come off with heat. Now, you can also heat your grips with a heat gun, but that can damage the grip. You might melt the grip. So really the best way to do it is just some hot water. And I bet even if you stick your teapot on your stove and pour it into a pot and then stuck them in, that would probably work too. It only takes a few minutes generally for the glue to soften and the grip will come right off. So right now we have these in this pot, and let's see if we're done. So I've got my rag just so I don't need to get my hands wet, and I'm going to pull my grip out. Now I removed the straps. You don't need to do that, but I figured why not. And I'm going to place my hand on the grip and give it a little twist, and I can feel it starting to move. Boom, just like that. It came off. Now, this particular grip looks like a cork grip. It actually is not. It's cork embedded in polyurethane, but if you have a real cork grip, you do not want to just stick it in a pot because the glue that holds the cork on will soften as well, and the cork might start to sort of peel away from the grip. So what you do in that sense, and what we do, is we wrap the grip in saran wrap just to keep it tight against the grip itself, the cork tight against the grip, and then I just have some rubber bands to kind of hold it in place. Whatever works, but that will keep the cork from loosening and spreading and falling off. And that pole comes off super easy as well. Okay, that is the first step, removing the grips. Now, the second step is to measure. So these poles were 145 centimeters. No, I'm sorry, 140 centimeters. And we want to cut them down to 135 centimeters. We want to knock 5 centimeters off. You might want to knock 10 centimeters off. You might want to knock 2 centimeters off. But however much you want to knock off, just make sure that you don't go below where the pole might start to taper. This pole stays pretty consistent for quite a ways, and then it starts to taper down here. So if you wanted to cut these down to like little junior size poles, maybe 80 centimeter, it might be a problem. Now I'm saying that because really long poles, 160 for example, that you might want to cut down to 135. You might not really be able to do that. So just be careful. Make sure that you're not going to cut where the pole tapers. Okay? So we want to cut 5 centimeters off. Simple enough. And this is what I do. I take one pole shaft and I lay it in my vise. And, you can tighten it to make it a little easier. There we go. Don't tighten it too hard. Don't crush the shaft in your vise. Just tension it enough to hold it in place. And maybe support the end where you're going to be cutting. And I actually you could use a pen to mark it, but I actually score it with the saw itself. And there's our lens cap. I don't need that in the way. So I'm going to use my trusty tape, and I'm going to look for 5 centimeters, which is right there. And then I just take my saw and I line it up. It's been a while since I've done this, actually. Yeah, hold on. There we go. Oh! See? I'm not perfect either. Alright. So 5 centimeters. And then I just take my saw and I line it up and I just give it a little score. There it is. And then I'm ready to cut. Now, I'm going to choke up a little bit. Prepare to saw away. Remember, not too tight on there. And then I'm simply going to saw. Now, if you're a handy fellow or lady, you're probably going, if I were him, I would probably turn it around like this. So the part that I'm cutting will be the part that falls off. And I would say you're very smart. Probably smarter than me. All right, so here we go. All set, nice and sturdy. I got my mark. And I'm just going to hacksaw, and I'm going to cut that off. Now, make sure, first of all, that your saw blade is fairly sharp. You want to use a hacksaw. This is an aluminum pole. It's going to cut real nice. Carbon, you got to be a little more careful. With a carbon shaft, you might give it a couple of slices and then rotate it a little bit, rather than just try to slice it straight through, because sometimes the fiber of the carbon can kind of be, tenacious and kind of make it difficult. Just be careful. But anyway, and when I said use a sharp blade, this is not a sharp blade, but it's sharp enough. There we go. Getting a good cut now. Oh yeah. Until that's horrible. You're done. Now, here's a trick that I learned once. As far as the other pole, instead of measuring, in case there's a slight difference in length, what I do is I take the other pole that I've cut, line it up on a flat surface next to the pole that I'm about to cut, put them together, take my saw, make my mark, and that way they're going to be perfectly even. Now, I won't put you through the pain of me cutting it. We'll go to the last phase, which is putting the grip back on. Okay, so now we have our pole cut to the desired length. Now we need to get the grip back on. They need to be glued back on generally. Some grips actually stay fine without any glue at all, but glue is a good idea. We use hot melt glue. Hot melt glue is what the manufacturer uses. Hot melt glue is a glue that will soften when heated. If you have a glue gun, you're an arts and crafts kind of person, you're all set. Use that stuff. Otherwise, you can go to the hardware store and buy those hot melt glue sticks, and if you have a heat gun at home, maybe even a hairdryer, you warm it up with that, you kind of smear it on, and you slide the grip in place. Otherwise, you're going to have to use any kind of glue that you might have handy, and an epoxy or a super glue will work, obviously, but then you probably won't have any luck getting the grip off in the future. So let's just pretend for now we're using hot melt glue, which we have applied to the shaft. Pretend it's there and ready to go. What is more important is how to get the grip back on without having it uneven. So what I do is I kind of eyeball it. I look at my basket, and the basket is directional generally. Unless you've got a perfectly circular basket, it's directional. Generally, the basket part itself actually goes behind. And that way when you're skiing along, the basket won't catch in the snow. So I know that this is the back of my pole, and here's my grip. The strap goes in the back. So that tells me exactly how it's going to go. And then I kind of eyeball, really, put the grip on a little bit, and then I eyeball it. So if you just put it on a little bit, it's easy to spin. And in other words, you don't want to get it all crooked, so you want the grip to line up nice and straight against the basket. So now my strap is right in the back, my basket is in the back, this thing is all set and ready to go on. And I'll slide it down a little bit and check it one more time, and needs a little bit of a tweak, maybe a little bit more. Perfect. Now, move it up, and then when I have it straight, there we go, I will put the grip against the floor, and then I just push the shaft down until it stops. And now we have our 140 centimeter pole cut down to 135. Simple as that. So thanks for watching. I hope that helps you. And I am Onion Boy from ORS Direct.